One of my favorite South African guys on Twitter is a guy called Usizwe Sigamusi. He wrote this piece. It's quite long. I'm going to try and read it as quickly as possible because I want to read 2 more tweets from myself. I'm taking liberties. I hope Usizwe doesn't mind. Even if the ANC were to collapse tomorrow and be replaced by any party or coalition of parties, South Africa would continue on the same path. This is not because these parties are similar in any way. Of course not. However, the thing is, once in power, any party or group of parties encounters the same machinery. A political economy designed not to transform but to resist change in the name of stability. In other words, no matter who governs, the trajectory remains locked, characterized by managed decline, elite continuity, and budget cuts for the majority. You know this because each election cycle promises a turning point. New faces, new slogans, new coalitions, yet the substance of governance never shifts. South Africans are told to vote smarter, organize harder, and believe once more that reform is just one coalition away. This upcoming election has to be the one. But the deeper truth is harder to face. The system isn't broken because of who runs it. It's broken by design. Since 1994, power has been programmed to ensure continuity, not transformation. Within this calibration, power rotates. Outcomes do not. Corruption scandals, ministerial reshuffles, and coalition dramas dominate headlines, but the structure never changes. To understand why, we must recognize that 1994 didn't represent a blank slate for democratic experimentation. Rather, it marked a carefully negotiated compromise that prioritized elite stability over mass empowerment. Out of the settlement, capital was allowed to leave the country freely. Inflation targeting became untouchable, investor confidence was enshrined as sacred, and property rights were insulated from redistribution. These were not neutral, technical, or governance choices. They were political choices that limited future policy options. They became laws, financial rules, and institutional practices that restrict all future governments, no matter their mandate. Any party taking office today inherits a structurally weakened, and fiscally restricted state where decision-making is no longer democratic in any meaningful sense. Real power lies not in the state, but in financial markets, legal contracts, global trade regimes, and elite networks immune to electoral accountability. The result is that even the most radical manifestos produce lukewarm outcomes. Not for lack of will, but because the machinery is built to block deviation. We don't need to speculate about what alternative coalitions might deliver. We've seen the experiment in real time. Since 2016, the country's largest metros, Johannesburg, Tshwane, Nelson Mandela Bay, have been governed by shifting combinations of opposition parties, the DA, the EFF, Action SA, and local independents. Instead of transformation, these coalitions delivered mostly chaos. Service delivery faltered, infrastructure crumbled, and governance fractured into factionalism. The blame does not lie with the parties. It lies with the model itself, unstable, under-resourced, and designed to neutralize meaningful change. The metros are a microcosm of the national condition where parties rotate, coalitions collapse, and the system remains immune to reform. If you've lived in any major city over the past decade, can you honestly say things have improved compared to the one before? What South Africa has is a form of electoral democracy without economic sovereignty. Citizens vote, parties compete, but court decisions over fiscal policy, trade investment, and state-owned enterprises are insulated from popular will. The result is a democracy that changes actors, not outcomes. A state that manages dissatisfaction rather than addressing it. And a public conditioned to hope, vote, and repeat. I argue that the system has reached such a level of entrenchment that intentional reform is no longer plausible. Too many powerful interests, corporate, political, international, are invested in preserving the status quo. Let me stop there. No, let me read my tweets before I say some words about Usizwe's post. On the, what's the date here? The 10th of May, 2025, I would tweet, the South African Constitution is the most oppressive piece of law for the poor majority. Its number one objective is to protect the rich, not to end poverty. As I record this, it's got about 24,000 views. The political machine is broken, and it's broken because the people that designed it, all the way from your Rhodes and the Oppenheimers, later on you'd find your National Party and the ANC would take over. The model itself has not been changed. How do you know it's not changed? You know we get told to vote, right? And then depending on who we vote for, you hear terms like the Doomsday Coalition. No, the Rand, the markets, we don't want to become another Zimbabwe. What does that tell you? It tells you that people don't care who we vote for. They threaten us with the Rand, the economy, becoming a Zimbabwe. That means the market, money, the economy is more important than what the people want. That means it's not a real democracy. And to what Usizwe says in his piece, the truth is political parties and politicians, their job becomes to manage frustrations, not to address it. Julius Malema would say at some point, speaking in a radio interview, that an unled revolution is chaos. He'd speak about how the EFF fills that gap where disgruntled, frustrated people have a home so that they can organize them. Because he says, I think it's a white disc jockey, radio DJ on the other side, saying, when the people get desperate, who are they going to come for? They're going to come for me and you, Chief. Because Malema himself is not even middle class today. We can argue that he's rich. These guys are meant to pacify. Don't get too angry, we've got you. The land, don't worry, we're in parliament fighting. You saw us, Baba. So you can calm down. Calm down, we've got you. White racists will come, will toy, so that you can calm down. Not to actually address the core of what is your issue. Our issue is we don't have land. Let's go and resolve that. Not let's go march, let's go sing. Point of order. Hey, Chief, hey, and crack jokes. The ANC has been doing a magnificent job of pacifying frustrated, angry, poor people. And the tools they've been using are social grants, a free house here and there, some free schooling with umtogo, some oats, brown bread. Because most living in your nice free house, you can't be angry like that anymore. And who cares if Ramaphosa and these guys are rich, but at least, Baba, it's not that bad. Our constitution has been celebrated around the world as one of the best constitutions in the world. This was not decided by ordinary South Africans, poor South Africans who are like, hey, le constitution iyasebenza. Ha! Hey, yazi ngale constitution ngakutshela. We are being told by rich, powerful people abroad, what a great constitution. Why? Because our constitution protects private property rights. If you are a white person who ill-got your land during colonialism, apartheid, it is protected by the Constitution. Our economy is protected by the Constitution. As I say in my tweet, our Constitution's number one objective is to protect the rich, not so much to eradicate poverty. Rich people look at our Constitution and very quickly they can be like, yeah, but human rights, but my property, but this is wrong, this is against the law. Look at the Constitution. That's why every time you get undocumented foreigners in this country, occupying land, occupying buildings, guess who goes to court to fight for them? NGOs. Guess why they win? The Constitution. It speaks about the Bill of Rights, human rights. It doesn't speak about democracy and the majority. If all 51% of South Africans said, Abahambe, let illegal undocumented foreigners go, The government, the police, the soldiers cannot grab these people and chuck them out because they are protected by this fucking book. The book says, fuck you, poor South African, and your struggles. We would rather preserve these interests. The reason we have illegal foreigners here and why the NGOs fight is because your restaurants, your shops, your mines, your farms, they hire these guys. When your unions came and fought for labor laws, minimum wage and working conditions and 40 hours a week, you became expensive. These guys built their wealth from exploiting your ancestors. They can't keep making money if they pay you fair wage, Baba. So they need another way. And what do? You import slaves. But now you can't bring Indians from India to work the sugarcane fields. You can't bring Malaysians to go and work there in the Cape. The next best thing is people from Malawi, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Lesotho, who are working below minimum wage in horrendous conditions. But they can't complain because they're illegally here. They've got no rights. They probably don't have a contract. So when you try to chuck them out, the NGOs run to their defense using the Constitution. Let me read another one, Baba. Because Usizwe asks about the political model and what the way forward is. I'm going to start with the controversial one. And I apologize in advance because I know it may trigger some people. My tweet from the 11th of May goes, was Mangosuthu Buthelezi wrong for putting the Zulu nation first? Mangosuthu Buthelezi, Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi, the Prime Minister of KwaZulu, may he rest in peace, leader of Inkatha Freedom Party. Was he wrong? Or is it the model that all of us should be adopting? Looking out for your people, whether cultural or religious, because that's the best path to prosperity. In every other video of mine, you hear me speaking well of the Jewish community and the Muslims and the Afrikaners. Why do I speak well of them? It's because they're successful. They're rich. They have land. Their families are intact. But the thing I don't ever mention is these people put their people first. Afrikaners don't go out and hustle and struggle and for everyone else. They do it for Afrikaners. Same with the Muslims, same with the Jews. When you go and Zulus first, you're divisive. All of us are no, but unity, one nation we are. I got a lot of heat in the comments, understandably so. The IFP's legacy, along with Mangosuthu Buthelezi, is he was responsible for the murder of Zulu people who were opposing him, responsible for the killing of people in Mahostela in the East Rand, and part of IFP members were trained by the apartheid government and given weapons. So to many people, they were seen as an apartheid branch. Go neutralize these other blacks, man. They're causing us problems. That's wrong. That's wrong. But now from a perspective of saying, but I'm putting Zulus first, is it wrong? Mugabe did that for Zimbabweans. Similarly, he also silenced opposition parties. We had Abo Morgan Tsvangirai of the MDC. Paul Kagame, head boy of Africa, with the Hutus and the Tutsis. Huge genocide war. Even to this day, there are people saying he's part of the reason there's instability in the DRC and he's responsible for a lot of fights and is a puppet of the West. He was in France recently. But Rwanda is progressing. It's developing. Its economy is doing well. Paul Kagame can be like, I'm doing this for my people in Rwanda. Ibrahim Traore was not voted in democratically. He didn't campaign and dance on stage. The guy's a soldier. Organized the army, overthrew the government, and took over as a 35-year-old. Today, everyone is looking, Ibrahim Traore. Hey, we need a guy like Traore. We don't speak about the atrocities. Many of our cultural groups in this country have killed many people to become what they became today. The ANC, as much as you love it, was involved in guerrilla warfare. They were involved in destroying properties. We can even argue about killing people. Now, you can argue, but they were doing it for black people. Whoever your people are, Mangosuthu Buthelezi was actually the number one politician before Nelson Mandela would come back, because at the time when they were negotiating with the ANC, even Nelson Mandela would speak about how it frustrated him. The British would say, we need you to make space for Mangosuthu. He's very important to us. Mangosuthu was the prime minister. He was the right-hand man of the king, Zwelithini, and his father before him. And he had a good relationship with the British. He would negotiate a good relationship with the apartheid government on condition that the Zulus get to have their king, get to have their way of living, and even be trained by them. Can you imagine a black group trained in warfare by an Afrikaner racists? It sounds like an oxymoron, but it was happening because there was someone who was saying, we'll work with you and we'll do maybe atrocious things. These are the same Zulu people that come from Ushaga and Mfetane, where people dispersed because Ushaga was on a rampage. The same people who are linked to taxi violence in this country with the taxi route. So it's not too far-fetched that there will be those type of people. You can call them sellouts, you can call black on black, whatever. He was trying to put Zulus first. They weren't happy with the democratic elections, and it was only at the last minute where they ended up putting their name at the bottom of the ballot. Mangosuthu Buthelezi would negotiate for the Zulus to get land, 2.8 million hectares. Where other people had failed to get land, he secured 2.8 million hectares of Zulu land to be held under the custodianship of the king. You speak Traore, you speak dictators. Mangosuthu got that right in KwaZulu. The land there is owned by the king. This thing you guys are dreaming of today. He built a Zulu bank, Italia. He built Zulu educational institutions, one of them being today Mangosuthu University of Technology. You've got the University of Zululand, Ongoye. They have their king. They have their land. The thing that you guys are crying for, he was doing for his people, the Zulu people. Was he wrong? Or is it a model that we should be adopting? Maybe not necessarily for AmaZulu, Maxhosa, Abesuthu, Amapedi. Maybe it's meant to be for black South Africans, however you want to define your people. Last tweet. This one I posted today, the 12th of May. You cannot believe in Ibrahim Traore and believe in democracy. Traore forcefully took power in Burkina Faso. He didn't campaign and get majority votes. People love him because he's doing well for his people. But you can never guarantee that with a dictator, especially long term. Many of them, your Robert Mugabe's, your Musevenis and others, they came in with the same vibes. Fast forward later, when they don't want to let go of power and they feel like, no, whoever wants to come in is going to dismantle what we're kind of doing. Be careful what you wish for. South Africa, maybe with this broken political system and economic system we have, we can maybe try and organize, see if we can start getting training, go to Russia, send some young people to train, go to China, train, maybe even go to North Korea. And be like, we are training our young people in warfare because we're not happy with how this country is moving. We've got a book called the Constitution that no matter what the majority wants, they get told no, but the Constitution doesn't allow it. The ANC in government, the EFF, anyone can go to parliament and vote in. We want the land to be nationalized. Go vugama NGO kusasa aye enkantolo athi kuse this goes against the Constitution. Every black South African, all 80% black people in this country can vote to nationalize the banks and the mines tomorrow. And it will be taken to court and the Constitutional Court will say, unfortunately, the Constitution doesn't allow this, so unfortunately this cannot hold. And you're like, but it's democracy. And they're like, yes, we hear your so-called democracy. But the Constitution, which is the ultimate law of the land, does not allow it. Then people say, okay, let's change the Constitution. Thabo Mbeki had an opportunity, he didn't do it. I think Zuma could have gotten together because I remember the EFF saying, we'll give you our votes if we change the Constitution. Leo Zuma never changed. We're here today. The same players, Caesar speaks about it, the same players, they keep changing and they rotate and they're funded by the same people. I don't believe in democracy, by the way. Does that mean that I believe in dictatorship? No, I don't. I thought I did, but I don't. Dictatorship is very dangerous. When it looks good, everyone wants a dictator. When it's bad and you're on the opposing side, all of a sudden it's oppression. The apartheid government was a dictatorship. I you want dictate? Nah, Baba. Mangosuthu Buthelezi in some of the things he did for the Zulus. Ushaka. That's dictatorship. Robert Mugabe. Dictatorship. No, but that one doesn't sound nice to you. All these other ones you like are at the expense of someone else as well. We cannot let ignorant, poor, struggling, desperate people vote because they don't know what they're voting for. And they get co-opted with promises of one day nizobusa. One day Jesus will come back. No. Similarly, it cannot be that we don't have a system where if the person in power has too much power and does not want to listen to reason and does not want to see what's happening with the people, that person gets to do whatever they want. The majority is not always right. The majority is not always right. We see this in our homes. Mom, dad, 4 children. Let's vote. What are we going to eat? Who's going to go to school? Who's going to drive the car? The 4 children are like, we're going to eat ice cream. We are not going to school, Baba. Pantsing in Fundu. Mom and dad must go work, come back and feed us. That's democracy. That's majority. But it's not right. Someone could argue, then who decides what's right? Whoever has the best interests of the majority. In that same household, having the kids eat ice cream all day, not go to school, send their parents to go break their backs, that is not in the majority benefit. It might be in the majority benefit now, but mom and dad get hit by a bus going to work. What's going to happen to these 4 fat losers that are at home now? They fucked. They fucked. So a wiser mind is needed to come in and explain and win over these kids and their parents to say, listen, the parents will work, they will bring some, but then you guys must also go and educate yourself and upskill yourself and help your parents over time so that nonke nizobusa. I hear you guys, man, worshipping Ibrahim Traore and you don't know what you're asking for. I love Traore. I love that, like Thanos in the Avengers, he had a vision and he went through and he fought. I know you guys keep comparing him to Julius Malema, and shout out to Julius, man, but Julius is still there in Parliament, point of order and what. And he's still campaigning for votes and he's still disappointed that he's not doing well and he's lost leadership. Floyd Shibambu, Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, Dali Mpofu, Busisiwe Mkhwebane, Mzwanele Manye and others, they've left. He's still operating within this system that is broken. If you guys really think Julius is the guy, if Julius really is the guy, it's not going to happen through this model. The ANC and other liberation movements didn't change this country by votes during apartheid. They had to take up arms. They had to launch guerrilla warfare. APLA, Konto Wesizwe, were not dancing parties for a dance-off with the National Party. It was only at the end where they were like, hey, Ibrahim Traore, before you shoot us, Baba, let's negotiate. And then they sat down and they negotiated. But we need to start having serious conversations about where do we want this country and this continent to go? And what are the best models? Because these models we have now have done nothing but preserve minority wealth of the West. And now the East is coming in to also eat. And it's empowered and emboldened a few corrupt leaders to become puppets and gatekeepers and enforcers. They are the muscle. Cyril Ramaphosa, at the time, under Jacob Zuma's presidency, would unleash amaphoyisa onto miners, striking for better wages. The same Cyril who would lead mine workers to march for better wages. Animal farm. The pigs are now the humans are the pigs, we can't tell the difference. These guys are hired buffers. Omantshingelani awukwazi ukungena lamfana umthetho awuvumi. Cha kodwa baba kusekhaya la omkhulu hayi phethe ubasla van der Merwe. No kodwa phela mfethu ukhumbule mina engikubekela. Hawe yazi uqinisile mfana awubamba iqatha lenyama la. Kodwa phela kumele sivote and masivotile ukhumbule bane constitution labantu. Angeke ivume umthetho awuvumi. Umthetho awuvumi, umthetho kabani? Umthetho kabani? Shout out to Sizwe Sikamusi. For anyone who is serious about creating a better South Africa, for all, for most, not just preserving minorities, we need to find a way around the Constitution because it is an oppressive piece of legislation. And 30 years later, it has not developed, it has not delivered what the people fought for, what people died for, what people marched for, what people went to prison for, what people were in exile for. Which means it is being used as a weapon to continue the oppression, exploitation, the poverty of the majority of South Africans, poor South Africans, the bulk of them being black. And something has to change. Does that mean we need to start speaking about building an army? Maybe. Maybe building an army is going to bring the right role players to the table. And they'll call us names. I think it was Oliver Tambo that said if the ANC government does to you what the apartheid government did to them, treat them how you treated the apartheid government. Our extended family members, you know, Penwell, Baba, our lives are nice. We speak good English. We're there with the whites, Baba, living good life. But how do I genuinely, if I believe in Ubuntu, how do I genuinely sleep peacefully at night knowing that my cousins that I grew up with, laughed with, have to stand in line for 370? That the quality of their education is subpar? That they're living in a free house, that there's no dignity, they didn't build it themselves. That they keep voting for people that are promising to feed their kids porridge. And I'm like, there's no dignity here. You've become a beggar. And I can tell you now, this is not what we fought for. This is not what I went to school for. This is not what I work hard for. This is not what I'm privileged for. I'm privileged. But I'm privileged so that I can look down on them during festive and feel like a boss when I rock up at family events. If really that's what it is, then we've fucking lost it. But we need another way. And voting is not the way. Voting is not the way. Something else is needed to break this country and get it to do what it's supposed to do for the people. And we may look at Ibrahim Traore, and even myself, I question and I judge, but maybe we need to start that journey to show the people that run this country, the business elite, the political elite, that we are tired. We have had enough. You guys are actually not listening to us. You keep telling us, but vote better. Fuck voting better. We're tired of voting better. We voted ANC, Mkhonto weSizwe, EFF. If you combine those three in 2024, that's 65%. Black leadership. What the fuck are they doing for the people? What the fuck are they doing for the people? Something different is needed. And I'm telling you now, it's not going to come from politicians. If these guys are not funded by the Oppenheimers and others, then they're enjoying soft life because a member of parliament earns 100,000 rand a month. What fucking struggle does that person know? Flying everywhere, sleeping on nice beds, laughing with their colleagues in parliament, trying to campaign to rich people to get money. The last thing on their minds is uplifting you and your fucking grandmother in a shack or in a rondavel. They can promise you everything they want, but they are lying. We need another way. Peneli mnyama.